Welkom bij Expo 2. We're gonna watch a video of Jordan Peterson. It is a long one, but it's worth it.
What do people do if something they fundamentally believed changes and they're left in this state of what's even stable in my life? Like, where do you start when you're frozen?
Okay, so back to the book of Exodus. This is so cool. Jonathan Pajot explained this to all of us. And like, I don't think any of us ever recovered after he explained it because it's so bloody brilliant. So the Israelites are out in the desert, right? They're lost and they have the habits of slaves, so they don't know what they're doing. And they're all bitchy and they're whining about having the tyranny back, and they're bitching about Moses, and they're worshiping like golden calves, and they're fighting with each other.
Yeah.
It's just like chaos. So they don't know where to go. And so God appears to them. And God appears as a pillar of light at night, so it's a fire, and a pillar of darkness during the day. And so Pajot said that's the same thing as the Taoist yin and yang. It's the same idea. So what does it mean? Well, in the Taoist worldview, reality itself, so that's experiential reality, is made out of the balance between chaos and order. Okay. Now, order is where you are when things are going the way you want them to go. That's order. And chaos is where you don't know what the hell's going on. So chaos is also possibility, right? And the future is chaos, and novelty is chaos. Now, in the Taoist worldview, the little serpent, because it's a serpent, that's the white serpent, their head has a black dot in it. It's because order can turn into chaos at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And the black serpent has a white dot in it because chaos can reveal a new order. And that's the interplay of reality, the interplay between the unknown and the known. Now, when you're guided by that which grips your interest optimally, right? So you're attentive because you're interested in something, you're focused on it. What it means is that chaos and order are balanced for you in a way that doesn't flood you too much, so you're not too terrified, but that isn't so predictable that no transformation is taking place in front of. Now, you might think, well, what I want to be is stable. And the answer, that's wrong. You don't want to be stable. You want to be stable and improving, right? Okay, so something will beckon to you as compelling and interesting if it's exactly on the frontier between chaos and order that will move your development forward, right? And when that happens, you're engaged. That's the instinctive meaning. That's how God manifests himself to the Israelites in the desert. It's that the thing that grips your attention. It's like the snitch that Harry Potter chases and wins the game.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing that dances and grabs your attention. And so you could think of God in the story of Exodus as that which calls to you. And you see a precursor of that in Exodus because Moses leaves Egypt at one point. He kills an Egyptian who has beaten up an Israelite. And he kills him, and then word gets around, and he's afraid the Pharaoh's going to kill him. So he leaves, and he goes to this land, Midian. I think it's Midian. His father-in-law is a Midianite priest. So I think it's Midian, but the people who live there are Midianites anyways. He marries one of the priest's daughters, and he settles into their household. And like, he's very valued there because he rescued the girls, including the one he married, from these like thugs at a well. And they're pretty happy with Moses.
Yeah.
And now he's a shepherd, and a shepherd is a guide and a leader, right? That's what a shepherd does. And a shepherd protects the weak, because that's also what a shepherd does. And remember, in the Middle East at this time, there's lions and wolves. And like, you're not some trivial dude if you're a shepherd, because you're out there alone and where there's predators, and you're, you know, taking care of the vulnerable. So that's the leader. Yeah, that's the leader, right? That's why the shepherd is a leader figure in the Old Testament. You have a rod that you move the sheep with and fight off the predators, and that's Moses, and he's having a perfectly fine time. He doesn't even want to go back to Egypt. And he goes, it actually happens near Mount Sinai, he encounters a burning bush. And so Moses is going about his business, and all of a sudden something attracts his attention. And he decides to go off his path, right? So the path of normality, to attend to this thing that captures his interest. And it's not like a burning forest. It's just something that glitters, right? It's a call. And so Moses goes to investigate. And as he approaches it, he realizes that it's a burning bush. And so what does that mean? Well, a tree is a symbol of life, like the tree of life, right? The tree is a symbol of life because, well, trees are alive, obviously, but that branching complexity is sort of emblematic of life. And a burning tree is being and becoming at the same time, because fire is transformation. And so the burning bush is a symbol of being and becoming simultaneously, right? And so Moses investigates this. And as he investigates it more deeply, here's a voice, and the voice says, you're starting to tread on sacred ground. And so he takes off his shoes and continues to investigate. And that's when God himself reveals himself to Moses and then really transforms him into a revelatory leader. And the idea there is, it's such an amazing idea, and I think it's absolutely right, is that, you know, you're going to be walking down your pathway in life, and maybe you're perfectly content, and something is going to glitter and gleam in the periphery, capture your interest, right? And it's partly you, because it's you that's interested, but it's partly the world calling to you, because you don't get to say what makes you interested, right? It sort of happens to you.
Yeah.
It's a synchronicity, like it's a place where the narrative and the objective touch. And so if you decide to go off your pathway and investigate what interests you, and you investigate it enough, you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and if you go deep enough, you get on sacred ground, and that's where you're getting so deep that you're starting to study that which everything depends on. And then if you continue to study, you'll get right to the bottom of things itself. That's Moses' encounter with the divine, and if you do that, you will be a leader, right? And so you say, well, what guides you when you're lost? Well, the manifestation of intrinsic meaning guides you when you're lost. You can hear that in music, like music plays out the balance between chaos and order properly, and it sort of tells you what is intrinsically meaningful and necessary and beautiful and true, all of that. And it's so cool because it works out neurologically, really. Like, it is the case that you advance developmentally on the edge of chaos, right? Because you have to push yourself to advance.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you play. Like if you're playing one-on-one basketball with someone, you don't want to be 6'4" and play with your like 4'2" nephew and just stomp him to death. And you think, well, why not? Because you could beat the little bastard non-stop. It's like, I'm the victor. You don't want that, right? You want to find someone who can push you. Maybe you want to play with someone who's slightly better than you. Now, why? Because it's harder to win.
I hope you find this also inspiring. Subscribe, like, and comment. Bye.